Hello everyone, welcome back. Let's talk about another easy problem on Leetcode today. Check if one string swap can make strings equal. Leetcode 1790. In this problem, we are given two strings s1 and s2 of equal length, and we should return true if it is possible to make both strings equal by performing at most one string swap on exactly one of the strings. Otherwise, we should return false. A string swap is an operation where we choose two indices in a string, not necessarily different, and swap the characters at these indices. Then in example 1, for the given string, s1 is bank and s2 is camp. So these strings differ at these two indices. So we can swap the characters at these differing indices, say in string s2, to make it equal to string s1, that is bank, or we can swap b and k in s1 to make camp. So in either of the case, we can make the strings equal just by performing one swap. So we will return true in this case. In example 2, no matter how many swaps we make, these strings cannot be made equal because the characters are different. For example, character A, which is present in S1, is not present in S2. So we will return false in this case. And in example 3, we can see that the strings are already equal. So in this case, we will be performing 0 swaps. So we will return true in this case. Now in terms of solution, there are multiple ways to solve this problem. Today we will solve it by comparing both the strings character by character. Since we are given that S1 and S2 are already of equal length, this simplifies our approach. The first case is the easiest one, when both the strings are already equal, like we saw in example 3. In this case, we don't have to make any swaps and we will return true in this case. But now consider the case when performing one swap makes the strings equal. For example, for S1 equal to bank and S2 equal to camp, here there will be exactly two differences between the strings. For example, here it is B and K that can be swapped, and rest of the characters should be the same. So we swap B and K and both the strings become equal. Now the good news is that we don't need to actually modify the string and perform the swaps. We just need to check if the string can be made equal with at most one swap. So we can achieve this by counting the differences between the two strings using the counter, let's call it diff count, which helps us keep track of differences. If the strings are already equal, the diff count will be 0, so we will return true in this case. But if a swap is needed, in this case diff count will be 2. But will this condition alone be sufficient? The answer is no. Why? Because we also need to verify that the swap is valid. That is, it should resolve the differences to make the strings identical. For example, for S1 as bank and S2 as camp, the characters at differing indices match when swapped. The first differing character in S1 and second differing character in S2 is B. So, if we swap this character, say in S2, then B will match the character in S1 at the differing point. Similarly, the second differing character in S1 and first differing character in S2 is K. So, if we perform a swap, say in S2, then a swap in the string will make the strings equal. So, we will return true. But now consider the example where S1 is band and S2 is again camp. Here, the number of differences between the two strings is again 2, differing at index 0 and 3. However, if we swap the differing characters, say in string S2, then we will get bank, which is not equal to band. Or if we swap those differing characters in band, we will get damp, which also does not make the two strings equal. So this demonstrates that merely having exactly two differences is not sufficient. The characters must also be swappable to resolve the differences and match the strings. So to handle this case, we will also keep track of two differing indices. Let's call them first and second. If the diff count is equal to 2, we must ensure that the characters at these differing indices in one string match the characters at the corresponding indices in the other string when swapped. If the condition is satisfied, then the strings can be made equal with a single swap and we return true. If not, we will return false. And if there are more than two differences, such as S1 is attack and S2 is defend, in this case, we cannot make the strings equal just by one swap. So we will return false in this case. Or if there is only one difference, for example, S1 is bank and S2 is band. In this case, there is only one difference. But a single swap will not make the string equal in this case, because in order to make a swap, we need to have exactly two differing points. And if there is only one difference, a swap is not possible. So we will return false. Now in terms of time complexity, it is O of n, because we traverse each character in both the strings only once. And in terms of space complexity, it is O of 1, because we are just using few variables like first, last and diff count. Now let's jump into the code part. First, let's initialize first and second to store the indices of the differing characters, both initially equal to -1. Let's also initialize the diff count to 0, which will count the number of differing characters between the two strings. Now we will iterate through each character of both the strings starting from index 0 and check if the characters at the current index I are different. If they are, then we will increment the diff count by 1. And then we will check if it is the first difference we have encountered by checking if first is equal to initial value of -1. If that is the case, then we will set first is equal to current index. Otherwise, if it is not the first difference, it must be the second difference. So we will set second to current index. And if at any point diff count exceeds 2, we will return false, because then it will be impossible to resolve these differences. And once we have counted all the differences and the diff count is less than equal to 2, then we will check if the diff count is equal to 2 and the characters at the differing indices in both the strings match when swapped. That is, first differing character in S1 is equal to second differing character in S2, and second differing character in S1 is equal to first differing character in S2. If that is the case, then we will return true. Otherwise, we check if there are no differences, that is diff count is equal to 0, then we will return true. Otherwise, if the diff count is 1, then in that case we will return false. Now let's submit this code. Awesome. So that's all for this video. I hope this video was useful to you. If it was, please give it a thumbs up and share it with others who might benefit from it. If you haven't subscribed the channel yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you never miss an update. Your support helps me create more content like this. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.